Good day, everyone. You're welcome to today's lesson on CSS3. So let's get started. So basically, from where we left off in the previous session, I've created this HTML index.html. So basically, contents, I've loaded it up here. So basically, contains some bunch of unstyled elements. Some of them, if you watched the courses for the HTML5, you should be familiar with this. I just made some slight modification. So basically what we'll be talking about in this segment is on selectors, CSS selectors. So let's bring in our style sheet. So our relationship to be style sheet, and then we specify the type. The order does not matter. Text plus CSS, and then the href, very important, which is going to be style.css, and then we close. That will be it. So when I save, this is style.css, there's nothing there, so nothing changes. So what we want to do is, first of all, one way we can select elements is by selecting them by their type, the type selectors. So these are our nodes, so we shall be using it. So we have this type selector, which we've seen. We'll be quick about this one, the type selector. So for example, I can select in this document, you can see different type. Let's say I have this okay, let me select this A. Every A element, I'll select it and give it a background color of green, and give it a color, text color of white. So when I save and reload, you can see all the anchor tags, all of them way down the page have taken that attribute. So that's one way we can select elements. Another way we can select elements is through their ID. So we can select elements by the ID. So we look at this. Okay, we see this div, which is this one here. Sorry, this one here, this div. We can select that by the ID. We have given it an ID. Basically, an ID is a unique identifier to an element. So you won't have two elements with an ID of banner. So another element can have another ID. For example, another element can have another ID. Okay, you can see this one has ID of service, but you can't find another two elements with the same ID. So we can select that element with an ID. The way we select IDs is we use this pound sign, which is hash, and then the name of the ID. So in this case is banner. So I've selected that element. Now I want to style it. So let's just copy this style, and then we give it a background of green and then a color of white, and then when we save and reload, you can see that that element has that style applied to it. So that's how we can target elements. So let's put a comment on them. So let's say this one is type, and then what's happening? Okay, and then this one we targeted the element by ID selector, and then we can also target elements by class. So we look at these these elements, which elements has a class. Okay, these elements, there is no class. So what I can do is I can add a class to these elements. Okay, let's add a class to this. Let's say that these links, that their class is a nav link. So the same class. So class is basically the attributes that you give to a group of elements that you want them to share the same attribute, and we can hook on this to give all these elements the same attributes. So for example, we can come over here. This element now has class of nav link. So when we can come to our CSS and select the class. So this is class. So for the way we select class is using the period. So period stands for class, and the name of the class is nav link. So we can style that. Sorry, I copied that from the other one. So we copy that and then paste that. So we are saying that every element in this document that has a style of nav link, give it these styles, and that style will be applied to all of them. So when we save and reload, you can see that these links that have that class, they have taken up the style as I specified. So if I go over somewhere else in the document, is actually reusable. I can, let's say I come over here and I decide that I want this link as well to take on that class. I can give it a class of the same name, nav link, but I hope you know this is not actually a nav link, but I'm just using it for illustration. So if that element has that class, so you can see that it has taken on that. Every element that have that that class, the class name there specified, will be affected by that rule that we have applied. So the other way we can select elements is by selecting elements that are child selector, child element selectors. Let's say this is basically how we apply styles to follow the way the DOM is, the DOM tree. Let's say for example I have okay, let's come over to this. So I have a session, and then I have a form, and then I have inputs. So we can use this, okay, to style this paragraph. So I have this paragraph is inside the section, inside the section tag, and then inside there is there's a form, and then there's a paragraph there. So let me collapse this so that we can see. So you see that this paragraph is inside so we see that this paragraph, there you have this section tag. Inside the section there are two siblings, the h2 and then the form, and then inside the form you have the children of the form. So this is the P element is there. So we can use the child selector. So what we basically do is that we select this session, and then we say I want to target this P. There are several ways we can target it. One of them is targeting it based on the position in the DOM tree as a child of this of that session. So how do we do that is, let's comment this. So we have child selector, or I think let's call it descendant selector. You remember in our HTML course that we did say that the same idea that we use in family relationship can also be extended to the relationship that exists between or among these elements. So you can see that this is the parent, and these are the descendants. You have h2 tag and a form tag, and then this form tag, the descendants are the p tag and the input tag. So we can use that to target elements. For example, we can select the section, and then we use space. So this uses space. So this space saying select the descendants. So this space p. So what this will basically do is that it will target every p that is inside a session tag. That's what it's doing. So I can apply the same rule to it. So when I save and reload, you can see that this paragraph that is inside this session has taken that. So basically means that we have only one paragraph that's inside a session. So that's how we can target descendants. So another way we can make our targets to be more specific, in the sense that we can choose to target, for example, we can target this paragraph. You can target this paragraph based on the fact that is a direct child of the form element. So we can for direct child, this is a more specific targeting. Direct child, so we can say form, and then we put this greater than sign, and then put p. So this is going to target every paragraph that is a direct child or direct descendant of a form element. So based on that, we can select, save this, and then when we refresh, see that that p is targeted. This is not the only element that's a direct descendant. For example, I can target, if you look at these are all direct descendants. So let's say I want to target these where is that link? So I have this link. I can target them because they are direct descendants of this div with the ID of nav links. So I can specify here that I want to target nav links. I think there's s there, and then any element that is a direct descendant, all the anchor tags which are direct descendants of the nav links. So we are going to apply that styling to them, and we save and refresh. You see that they have that styling. So it's going to target all the anchor tags that are direct descendants of the elements with an ID of nav links, and then give them that styling. So that's how we can target elements as direct descendants. The other way we can target elements is as a group. Let's say we have a bunch of styles that we have already defined. Let's say this style, let's say I have this bunch of styles that I've already defined, and then I want this style to be, let's call this group select. So I want this style to be applied not only to these nav links. I also want them to be applied to another element. Let's say I want the same styling to be applied to, okay, to be applied to this, okay, to the articles. I want it to be applied to the article. So all I would need to do is I will make a comma separated list. So apply it to the anchor tags, then use comma to select the another group, and then I also want you to apply it to the article tag. So this is going to apply to a set. So this is like selecting a group. This style will be applied to the article, will also be applied to the anchor tags that are inside nav link, the element with an ID of nav links. So when we hit save and refresh, and you can see that it's being applied to the elements that have the element that have those specifications. So that's how we can select by a group. Another key selection that we can make is by selecting elements that are adjacent to each other. Let's say adjacent element selector, elements that follow another adjacent, that's follow another, or you can call it direct siblings. So in this case, to illustrate it, let's get back to our document. So if we notice, okay, you will see that I'm having a P, this form being the parent, having two descendants. You have an input and then you have a paragraph tag. Let's say I want to style this input element with that is directly following a paragraph. The way I can select it is that I can take advantage of the fact that this input element is directly following a paragraph. So I can come over here, two of them are direct siblings, so I can say a paragraph followed by style the input that follows a paragraph. So I can specify the styling I want to give to it. Sorry, this is not supposed to be there, that's an error, I copied from the previous one. So this is going to select the input that is following next to the paragraph. So when we look at, you see that that input has taken that style, that background there, and when you put any text, you see that the text is going to be white. So that is how we can select adjacent elements. Another way we can select elements is by selecting them based on their attribute selector. This is normally applied when selecting form elements like this. So for example, I can select an element that has the attribute selector, attribute select. So normally uses the square bracket. So I use square bracket to specify the attribute. Let me say I want to style all the elements that have an ID. So if I save this and refresh, so that this previous styling will go, all the elements that have every element that has an ID attribute is going to take on this style. So when I reload, you can see that this service has an ID. Notice that in this case I'm not specifying the value of the ID. So no matter the ID, whatever the ID is, so long as that element has the ID attribute, is going to take on that style. So this has an ID, this has an ID, this also has an ID. So these are the elements in this document that has an ID specified. So I can also filter based on the value of the attributes. So in this case, let's take that one out. Let's say I want to select input elements that have that their type is text. I want to select input elements that their type is text, of type text. So you can see that I only have one input element that has a type of text here. So I can come over here and then select input elements that their type is set to. So I can use that assignment there to select it, that their type is what? Text. So I've selected that element. I can apply the style to it. So only element that has an attribute, type attribute set to text will be style. So you can see this is the only element that have the type attribute set to an attribute value set to text. So that will be styled there. So another way I can also select by attributes is by specifying other filters. Let's check the DOM, for example. Let's say I want to select element. You can see in this DOM, I want to select element that starts with a particular attribute value. So let's say element that begins with F. So you can see that this element, the placeholder, starts with F. So I can also target it. This is a very powerful feature. So I can say placeholder. Remember, placeholder is the attributes. It begins with, so I'll use this carrier, begins with F. So this is going to target all the elements that has the placeholder attributes starting with F. So this carrier here shows that it's starting with what? F. Any other thing can follow, but so long as it starts with F, it will pick it and then give it that style. So let's minimize this a bit. So when we save and reload, you can see this is the element that has the placeholder. You can see the placeholder is starting with, sorry, what when you're supposed to select it, and the place, okay, this is starting with capital F and I'm specifying small letter f. So when we change that to capital letter, so you can see in the style it has taken on the style. One thing I also want you to note is that CSS is case sensitive. So if you, it matters whether you are specifying with small letter or capital letter, particularly the target. So that is how we can style based on what the attribute value starts with. We can also style based on what the attribute value ends with. We can style based on what the attribute value ends with. So let's copy and then let's use another element to illustrate this. So the attribute value, let's say the element that has the attribute value ending in, okay, that has the name attributes ending with L. So you can see this name attribute. So the element that has the name attributes, so we want the name attributes. So to specify end, we use this dollar symbol ending in L. So this is going to loop through the document and fish out elements that have their name attributes ending with L. So we have seen the email. So when we save this, you can see that it has styled the email there because the name attributes ends with L. You can see the name attributes. Why is this loading slowly? So you can see the name attributes of the email. Look at it, the name attributes ends with L. So that's sorry, that's how we can target elements using the attributes. So there are also other ways we can target elements using these attributes. Let me comment this out. Another way we can target these elements is by specifying whatever the, I can also specify that to search for any element that has the name attributes. So this asterisk is like a wildcard, like contains anything set to this value. So to make that, let's look at this place, this element. Okay, I'm having this input, this email, the place, you can see the placeholder there is set to lightworthng@gmail.com. So I want to use the dot to target this element, any element that the placeholder contains a dot. So it's going to search through the document and only select element that the placeholder contains a dot. So let's edit this. Placeholder contains a period. So this is not normally what you would do, but it's just to show you what is obtainable. So there are a couple of multiple ways this can be applied in real world apps. So when we select, you can see that it's selecting the email field. You can see that it's the email that has the placeholder that contains a dot. Is selecting the email field. We can also say if the, let's look at the DOM tree. if the placeholder contains hyphen, so we can search by hyphen. In this case, it's going to select the password. So if the placeholder contains a hyphen, so when we save, can watch it, you can see it has switched and selected the password field. So we can also target elements based on the first. So let's copy that. Let's look at this DOM tree. We notice that if you look at this password, you will see that, okay, let's say this first name and last name. So you can see that the placeholder here is first name space last name. So we can say that we can use the attribute values that are separated by spaces to target this element. So we can say target elements that the placeholder is set to a value such that the first word there is what? First name. So we basically do that by using the pipe symbol. So if we, I think it's first name, so placeholder set to first name, so we use this pipe symbol as a filter. So we take out that one and then use this pipe symbol. The placeholder starts with first name, so I have so this is so let's look at the DOM again. So this is a space separated list, and then this is a hyphen separated list. So I can target this this one using the pipe symbol, and then for this one that is separated by list, I can target that using that. I really don't know what that symbol is for. If you know what it is, just let me know in the comment. But this pipe symbol we target, so we can target that the first word. So what this is going to do is going to target okay, let's take this in one after the other. Let's not be too fast. So we have this first name. That pipe symbol is basically going to target the first word in a hyphen separated list. So just is using hyphen as the what they call it, as a delimiter. So we have, I think it's secret. So the first word is secret, so it's going to target elements that the attribute value starts with secret. So when we save, it's still the same password we did not. So let's comment this out so that you see the effect. So let's comment that out and save. So you see nothing is there. Then when we make this change, it's kind of select that. So we can also look for another element. I think that's not the only element that has that we can look at this DOM tree. Okay, we have, yes, nav, the element that starts with that's the class attributes. This is good so that we don't just, the class attribute starts with nav. So the class attribute starts with nav. So what this is going to do is that it's going to style the links. So you can see that the class attributes of that of this nav starts with, of these links starts with nav. So We can also, another way, which is the last I will cover, we are running out of time. So another way we can style this is if the attribute value contains a first word, so we use these keys, like you hold to get it, you hold shift key, you hold the shift key and then press the key to the left of number 1 on the keyboard, left of number 1 and then above the tab key, so you get that key. I can't really figure out the name now, so if you know what the name is, just let me know in the comment or in the platform. Thank you. So this is going to target elements that starts with that first name. Sorry, I've missed the spelling, the case. So first name, so the placeholder begins with first name, so let's save. So it should target, yes, has targeted, because this is where the first letter starts with first name. So this is how we can target elements by their attributes. So quite some list, so just try your best to practice with them so that you master each and every one of them. Other ways we can target elements, just two quick ones before we shut down for this session, is by using their pseudo classes and pseudo elements. Basically, pseudo classes are classes that define the state of an element. For example, you have a number of them. Let's say we target elements, we normally specify them with colon. So we have, when the elements, we have hover states. So when you hover over the anchor tag, we want to apply this to them. So let me copy it and then put that there. So when we go and then we refresh, you can see that the anchor tags don't have any style, but when I hover over them, you see that style is applied to them. I hover over this one, the styles are being applied to them. So that's how we can also target elements. And for anchor tags, you have quite, I think there's also this, let's comment this out. So we also have, when you for links that you visited, you have this visited. So if you normally find this, I think on Google, if you've clicked after your search results, after your search query has returned results, and you've clicked on a particular link and you visited that link, so by the time you return, or maybe you are, that link occurs again, normally takes a different color. That shows that you visited that link. So for example, in this case, so I say the links that I visited should take on this color. So if I refresh my page, so I've basically not visited any. Why is it not showing head? So are we breaking anything? So anchor links that I visited. Okay, I think we've basically visited or clicks on all the links. Why is my this thing? Alright guys, let me fix this. My system is kind of slow in loading this. There's nothing here. So basically what's happening is that I've clicked on all of these links without knowing, so that's why it's showing that. So if we take that out, so it goes out because the color is, let's say the color is green. Let's change the color to green. Of course, if it is not there, so you can see that it's there. The links are, oh my god, So I'm really sorry guys about this. The links that I've visited have taken on that color. Another way we can target elements is by using their, we can use their target them as pseudo elements. Let's say we copy this, and then basically the way we do this, we can select an element, let's say the article, and then say after. So this after basically used to define contents, what happens after or before an element. So in this case I can say content. Normally when you are specifying them, you specify a content. Let's say after, say after article, and then we can apply this style to it. So when we save and reload, you will see that after this is an article tag. After it, you can see that is being applied there, and then we are setting the color to, let's set the color to white, so that we'll see that the text also shows. So you can say after article. I can also apply another one to it, that, and then change this to before. So this is going to be applied before the article. So when we save, you can see before. Let's change the text to before. Let's change the text to before. So you can see before the article. So these are various ways we can target elements. If you have any question, just do let me know in the comment section, or you can drop your questions in the platform and we'll do our best to respond to them. Thank you so much for sticking with me in this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like this video, which I hope you do. Don't forget to give it thumbs up, and also to subscribe so that you get more from Technify. Thank you so much for watching, and do have a nice day.